of Nawash unceded First Nation. We also think of the Métis Nation of Ontario, whose history and people are well represented in Bruce and Grey County. So as I mentioned, we do have regrets from Trustee Boyd-John, and she did ask me to extend her wishes that everyone has a very safe and happy summer, and she's very sorry she's not able to join us tonight. So as I'd like to read our moment of reflection. As we join together for the final board meeting of the school year, I want to take a moment to reflect on these last 10 months. The past year is one that will not soon be forgotten in Blue Water District School Board. Back in September, there was so much anticipation as students returned to in-person learning after a busy summer of planning by our staff. It was a welcome return following months of school closures. During the September startup, we saw the launch of our first ever remote school for families who chose this option. It took a lot of creativity and reorganizing of staff to ensure these different learning formats could be adequately accommodated. For those who returned to their buildings in person, there were new routines to adapt to. We became quite proficient at masking, physical distancing, new approaches to hand hygiene, and other health and safety measures. We expanded our knowledge of terms such as cohorting, and quadmesters, among others. Many of us also became very adept at conducting virtual meetings in teams. Students and staff pivoted twice from in-person to remote learning in January and April. We had hoped for the opportunity to close out the school year with a return to in-person learning. While this did not occur, I know that our staff are doing all they can to make the year-end meaningful and memorable and engaging for students within public health guidelines. I want to take this time to thank all our students, parents, and guardians, families, staff, volunteers, trustees, partners, and communities who contributed to the success of this past year, despite all the changes and uncertainty. Thank you to our local public health partners for their guidance and for closely working with our staff throughout the year. Our low COVID case numbers in our schools and work sites are evidence of this strong partnership and high level of expertise. Last, but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge some very special individuals. To our graduates, whether you are finishing secondary and starting on your next educational journey or career path, a grade 8 student who is entering secondary, or one of our kindergarten grads, we wish you every success and many bright years ahead. Congratulations also to our retirees who begin a different yet still exciting new journey. For our moment of reflection, please join me to commemorate the collective efforts and achievements of the past school year. As we look forward to a more favorable situation for returning to school in person in September, we extend our deepest thanks and best wishes to all the valued members of our Blue Water school communities for a safe, enjoyable, and well-deserved summer. I'll first be looking for a mover and a seconder that the agenda for the regular meeting of the board of June 15th, 2021 be approved as printed. I see Trustee McComb and Trustee Dawson, all in favor. And that is carried. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on for any of the items on our agenda tonight? Trustee Johnstone's keeping me on my toes. I see none. Thank you very much. Next, I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the regular meeting of the board of May 18th, 2021 be approved as printed. Trustee Morgan, seconder. Trustee Atkinson. Any errors or omissions that people noted? All in favor? Thank you, that is carried. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder that the minutes of the committee of the whole board meeting of June 1st be approved as printed. I see Trustee Johnstone and seconded by Trustee McComb. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? And thank you, that is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? I see none. Which takes us to our Excellence in Education Students Reflection. I would like to invite Superintendent of Education Lauren Penner-Lipset to speak to this report, and I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Student Reflections Report for information. Trustee Dawson, seconded by Trustee Morgan, and welcome Superintendent Penner-Lipset.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be able to present this report this evening. As mentioned in the report, and as Chair Thompson mentioned in the opening remarks, this has been a very interesting year and a very different year. And we felt it would be very important at this point to hear some student voice. And of course, if we were in person, we've in the past invited students to the Education Center to share with us and in music or to speak with us. So because we were unable to do that for everyone this evening, we have put together a video reflection that I'd like to share with you. So if you just give me a moment, I will share my screen. Sorry, I'm going to try one more time. I apologize. I think I have to click one more button for the sound.
Though this year was interesting, I was still able to meet plenty of wonderful students and teachers at JDSS, made coming to school every day something I could really look forward to.
This year during online school, it was kind of challenging to learn some of the stuff that I should have been learning because it's supposed to be an outdoor class. It's ESP, so Environmental Studies program. Instead of doing the canoe trips and stuff that we were supposed to, we just did a lot more research projects on invasive species and trees and plants and stuff like that. We learned the different parts of the canoes and what they do and how they work. So it kind of sucked that we couldn't really go on the trips, but you make do with what you got.
Though this year has been interesting, I was able to pick up a new hobby to spend all of my freed up time.
So this year has been interesting, but I've been able to learn new stuff I haven't known before and learn myself more every day. And I am very grateful for that. And I am excited to graduate, but at the same time, I'm not, because I will miss the school.
So this year is interesting. I was able to do much more stuff than I would have been able to when I was at school, such as being able to finish school early and go to work so that I can make more money. It was great, and I really liked being able to do that.
I'm part of the Cooks program, and I'm here to tell you how it has changed my life. This program has given me the skills and knowledge in life to help me take care of the cooking for my future family and has helped me further my career by getting into the Canadian Armed Forces. The staff, the teachers, everything about the program was great.
Something I learned about myself this year is that if I can put my mind to it, I can accomplish it. I had this big project and it was worth a good percentage of my grade, and I'm like, this is gonna be hard to do. But then I said to myself, I have to get this done. This is gonna cost me, like, this is gonna be a good percentage of my grade, and I need to get it done. And then I end up getting it done. Same with all my other bigger projects that I do, and I end up getting a good mark on it, which is actually good. So that's what I learned about myself.
I remember at the beginning of the school year, my senior year, I kept telling myself, how on earth am I supposed to make it through all of these new barriers? But those thoughts quickly started to disappear when I became empowered and motivated by teachers and staff. And with all these new lessons and knowledge and support from the communities and people within the school, I truly believe that students are going to become more successful, strong, and I know in my case, I'm fully prepared to take the next steps into university, but I will always miss my experience at Grey Highlands.
Something that I learned about myself this year was I have to do my best every day, but I need to remember that my best looks different every day. I need to stop putting so much pressure on myself, slow down, and enjoy the small things in life.
So what I found with remote learning is that for me, it's been really hard to stay motivated to do my schoolwork on time, just because we don't have Zoom calls with my classes, and we just kind of do our work on our own time. But I found that I've been pushing my work back days later, and I fall behind really fast, and it is hard to keep up with all the work because it's so crammed, the courses, and so I fall behind really easily, and it's just making me less motivated to get it done, especially because school's almost over. I feel like it doesn't really matter anymore. But other than that, I think teachers are doing great with students. They're offering a lot of help, in my opinion, from what I've experienced. Some kids it works with the remote learning, some kids it doesn't. It just depends on how the kids learn. And
something I realized about myself this year was that self-confidence is really important, and the more effort I put into something, the more enjoyable my experience will be.
What have I learned about myself this year? I have learned that I can be flexible and can adapt to new things. When we switched to online learning, I had to fit into my family's schedule, as we had the shared technology, and so we were not all on the internet at the same time. As living on the peninsula means super slow internet, I have learned that I'm resilient and can do hard things. Super slow internet also means it takes a long time to upload photos for assignments, or I can get kicked out of Teams meetings. I have learned I'm determined to keep going when things get hard. My mom's computer would crash with no notice, which was really frustrating, but I kept on going. Recently, my teacher asked us to write a 6-word memo about our COVID experience, and I think mine reflects my learning adventure. Life has been challenging. I persevered.
And next year, since I'm probably not going to see my friends for this school year or my teachers, could I just see them next year? Probably. And that's exciting. That's what I want to do for next year, to see my friends, because I haven't seen them in 5 weeks.
Next year, I'm looking forward to coming back to school, hopefully in person, and getting to know everyone a little bit better.
Next year, I'm very excited to go see my friends because this year I won't be able to go see them.
Next year, I'm looking forward to hopefully having a normal year, since this year wasn't a normal grade 8 year.
Something unexpectedly positive about this year was being able to take part in some school events such as Spirit Days, despite a lot of clubs being shut down because of COVID restrictions.
Something positive about this year was realizing how nice it is to be with people. We went so long without people that when you finally see them, you're so happy and realize how important they truly are. Even the people you would usually choose not to hang out around. It makes you realize how important friends and family are in your life.
So COVID has been a really tough time and everything, but something I found that was positive over COVID to me was that I got to spend more time with my family and do more activities like running and biking. I miss my friends a lot, and it's definitely weird without them, but I find that I also spend more time outside when I don't have my phone. Like, we have chickens now. We've wanted to do that for a while, but COVID has been pretty crazy and online it's tough, but I'm hoping next year definitely is better, but I also like that school starts at 9 because I can go hunting in the mornings and literally have like a little nap before school, so that's always nice. But COVID has been crazy, yeah.
Through the trials and tribulations of education during a pandemic, I can confidently say that Greyhounds was successful at teaching all of us a fundamental lesson, strength and resilience, and how important it really is.
Something positive for this year is that we're able to get our vaccines, because if we didn't, we would still be in a sort of crisis of the COVID-19. So I'm getting mine actually on June 3rd. So that's exciting. That's very positive because we're moving forward and leaving us behind.
And it took this year of being online to realize the importance of in-class learning, sports, clubs, not only relationships with students, but teachers as well. And I just wanted to take this video to say thank you to Blue Water and all the teachers. This was a new experience for everybody, but you all made it possible. Thank you.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. Do trustees have any questions or comments? Trustee Morgan.
I just have a quick comment. Thank you very much, Lauren. That was terrific. And thank you so much to the kids. I'm so proud of them. They were so articulate and so candid. They were just wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I would just like to make a comment. I'm glad that the teachers and you have encouraged our students to hear that they're reflecting on this year, because we're really living an experience that will be history for students years to come, and for them to reflect and understand the pros, the cons, the positives, the negatives, but to look at it from a wider lens. That's really lovely. And it makes me wish we could have these student voice meetings regularly. It would be interesting to hear what our students think on a variety of things, maybe from different schools. That was lovely. Thank you. It was moved by Trustee Dawson and seconded, oh, Trustee Johnstone, sorry.
Not a problem.
You're already ahead.
Anyway, I wanted to say, because you kind of brought up something would be really great next year at different times, is to hear from student voice and what it's like coming back, so this is a base, and then kind of going forward. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, that's great. Thank you. It was moved by Trustee Dawson.
Just a quick comment. I'm reflecting on conversations that may occur 25 years from now when there are various school reunions occurring.
Mm-hmm. Or 100 years from now, when students look back and think, wow. It was moved by Trustee Dawson and seconded by Trustee Morgan that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Student Reflections Report for information. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. We have no delegations tonight, which takes us to reports. And we have the recommendations from the Committee of the Whole Board, June 1st. So I'd like to invite Vice Chair Johnstone to speak to this report and the recommendations coming out of it. You're on mute, Jen.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at another page, so I didn't even see that. So I'm just going to put the two recommendations on the floor. So the first one is that the Blue Water District School Board schedule the initial meeting of the board on the first Tuesday in December 2021 in place of the Committee of the Whole Board meeting, and I'm looking for someone to second that. Thank you, Trustee Morgan, and all in favor? Okay, so I'm just counting. so okay, I think it passed. I'm just trying to count down the side of the participants. So thank you. And then the second one is that the Blue Water District School Board changed the regular meeting of the board from the third Tuesday to the fourth Tuesday in March 2022. Can I have a second? I see Trustee McComb, and all in favor. Okay, I'm just going to let you know that even though Marilyn, your hand's up in the chat, it doesn't look like it's up. So I'm just going to have to see what's also happening for whatever reason. Anyway, that carried too. And thank you.
Showing up.
Yes.
I just wanted to add that because I'm on the phone, I have no easy way of voting. So just assume I'm voting affirmative unless I, flag something down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and the next is our Business Committee of the Whole Board held on June 1st. I would like to invite Trustee Dawson to speak to this report. And Trustee Dawson, would you like to be the mover and look for a seconder on those motions, or would you like me to put those on the floor?
I can put those motions on the floor.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The Business Committee of the Whole Board met on Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 via Microsoft Teams. There was a number of items on the agenda. I suppose the most important one was the 21-22 budget, and that is something that will be a recommendation as we move forward on the report. We also received a report regarding the current Georgian Bay Community School property, outlining the transition to the new school and the future needs of the current Georgian Bay Community School property. We received a couple of items for information, actually 4 altogether. The Community Planning and Partnership Annual Meeting, we received a report about that, outlining the details from the meeting that was held on May 11, 2021. Also, the Rural and Northern Education Funding Allocation Report was received by trustees, and it outlined the allocation of the Rural and Northern Education funding for the 2021-22 school year. We also received an update about Georgian Bay Community School that is virtually finished, and we're looking forward to the opening of that school in September. And we also received an update regarding the Beavercrest Community School project. So that is the verbal part of my report. There are 2 recommendations coming out. The first is the Blue Water District School Board approved the 21-22 budget in the amount of $226,738,790 in revenues, $224,820,386 in expenses, and $1,918,404 in reserve contributions. I'm looking for a seconder. I see Trustee Atkinson. Any discussion regarding the budget? Well, we've had a lot of discussion in the past, so it's good to see that. I'm going to, all in favor of approving the budget then?
I had a question. Sorry, Jim, you were so quick.
No, go ahead, Trustee Johnstone.
Yeah, so I saw that the budget was there, the total amount, and there isn't any other information, although of course we had a budget meeting and everything like that. And I know that during the budget meeting we had said and it had been presented that we could, if we need or we thought we needed to, that we could again this year do 2% deficit spending, correct?
I believe we did, yes.
Yes. So,
yes.
Oh, there's Superintendent Cummings. So, and I remember that. So, our budget is this. Is there anything that we maybe should do that so that they don't have to come back? We can say that they would come back, do an amendment to the budget. That if need be, that the business committee would come back to the board of trustees for if the necessity of deficit spending, if we need it.
If I may, certainly I think that's a good idea. The way the ministry is going through this right now is they're really treating this 2% almost like a PPF funding option. So it's already authorized by the ministry. But similar to our budget, we're looking at that flexibility going forward. So September for us financially will be kind of look, see, assess, and decide. And I think we will have that opportunity to do so. I don't think there's a need to change the recommendation.
Okay.
It is well documented in the budget report, but I think it's an excellent topic to bring up for the discussion here. In terms of that, we know that's available to us. We also know the deficit spending is available to us. I think we're a long way away from that, but especially where we sit right now with the status of the pandemic.
Oh, okay. Thank you, through the chair. Thank you very much for that. I just didn't want to be, something happened in the summer and we have to have a meeting and, so it was really about that. It was just a kind of a cover. In case you need it, we say yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Johnson. Any further discussion regarding the budget? I'm hearing none. All in favor? And that is, I see, that is carried. Good to have that big item out of the way. The next is that the Blue Water District School Board approved that the Georgian Bay Community School located at 125 Eliza Street in Meaford, Ontario, is no longer required for school purposes and is therefore surplus to the needs of the board and will be disposed in accordance with Ontario Regulation 444/98. Could I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Trustee Morgan. And discussion regarding this recommendation. Go ahead, Trustee Morgan.
I would just like to bring to the rest of the trustees' attention that we are maintaining the track that is across the road from the existing school, because the new track is not usable for a while.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. It's good to have that information. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? And opposed, if any? And that is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. And that ends the business committee report for the current school year.
Thank you, Trustee Dawson. There was no committee of the whole in camera meeting held tonight. And are there any notices of motions? I see none. There are no committee establishments or appointments this evening. And that brings us to our Student Senate report. So I would like to invite Student Trustee Sebastian Wall to present.
Hello, everybody. Unfortunately, you will not be able to see my face tonight as my computer is not acknowledging my camera's existence. The 2020-2021 Student Senate has been working to ensure as smooth a transition as possible between Senates. We identified this as a potential hurdle very early on in the year, so we've made it a priority since then to set up next year's Senate for success as much as we can. So to this end, we've invited the incumbent senators for as many of our meetings since we can, since their election, and trying to encourage feedback and participation. Our last meeting, not the one we had earlier today, but prior, included a follow-up discussion about school dress code modernization, and each senator gave an update on how they're handling the nuances that each school's code has. Afterwards, we had a presentation from Diane Thompson, who, along with myself and the rest of the Peninsula Action Committee for Education, we're working on a research project to evaluate the impact that this last year has had on student education and well-being. This project recently reached the definition and evaluation stage, where we worked with University of Queens to define goals, targets, and stakeholders. We received 2 letters from students who expressed concern that they would be returning to in-person learning before exams. Now, this was a while ago, but they wanted to remain online for the rest of the school year. It may be a moot point now, but it sparked an interesting and engaging discussion with the Senate. We recently did a poll on our social media platform, and we found that it was about 65% of respondents would prefer to go back to in-person, and 35% wanting to stay online. We discussed why that might be the case and what reasons someone would have for preferring to stay online over in person, and why someone, vice versa. Most senators agreed that its transitions between learning systems were a big source of concern for students. There's always going to be bumps along the way, no matter how much things iron out. And I think close to exams, that was where we saw a source of stress. As well, the Senate is saddened by the discovery of the bodies of 215 Indigenous children and the intentional killing of 4 members of a Muslim family out for a walk in London, Ontario. We've used our social media presence with Blue Water students to share our message, to express our solidarity with our Indigenous students and the families as they work to process the impact of residential schools. We sent our deepest sympathies to the family of the victims and to the Muslim community of Grey Bruce, who have been personally affected by the attack. We are all united in sorrow, and we know that it's important for Canadian youth to stand up against those who would commit such terrible acts and work for a socially just future in Canada. Canada's youth deserve the promise of an inclusive and welcoming country free of hate. And, we hope that in our time as Senate, as everything comes to a close, we've done our part to bring that future a little bit closer. And that is all.
Thank you very much. Trustees have any questions or comments? I see Trustee Dawson and then Trustee Morgan.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I'd just like to commend the youth, Sebastian, and the student trustees and the student senator for the work that you've done this year. You brought forward some things that were started with the previous Senate and carried them through. And you've also taken on some new initiatives of your own. Excellent job all around. Thank you very much for your work.
And I'd like to echo Trustee Dawson's comments. You've done a wonderful job. And Sebastian, I've really enjoyed your reports. And for our students who are not returning to the Blue Water Board next year, but going on to bigger and better things, I'm sure we all jointly wish you the very best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Johnstone.
Yes, thank you very much. I'd just like to say thank you to, of course, your wonderful reports this year, and also to your colleague who also gave reports and kept us up to date on what the Senate was doing. You've really, you could say, mastered, that online social media, and also very much brought focus to student voice in Blue Water. So I'd like to thank you very much, and all the best in your endeavors next year, whether you are going on to bigger and better things or returning to school here. But you'll always be really wonderful, and thank you very much.
Trustee
I
Morgan,
greatly
did you want to?
appreciate. My apologies.
No, no worries. Trustee Morgan, did you have a follow-up? And sorry, student trustee Wall, I interrupted you.
I greatly appreciate everyone's words. Thank you very much. It's been a great experience to do this, and I will pass them along to everyone who is not here tonight. Thank you.
I just have one comment before you go. I hope for the student trustees and senators that are online, and for our new ones and anyone else that's watching, I hope that your experience has highlighted for you that you have a very important voice. And I hope you will use it throughout your life. There will be causes throughout your life that need to be, that people need to fight for. And I hope that this experience will help you remember that you have a very, very powerful voice that you should use moving forward. And I echo everyone else's comments. You've done a lovely job this year. We are next moving to our staff reports, and I'd like to invite Superintendent of Education Cheryl Elliott to speak to this report. I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the 2021-2022 Student Trustees and Senators Report for information. It's moved by Trustee McComb and seconded by Trustee Atkinson, and welcome Superintendent Elliott.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to bring you the 2021-2022 Student Senate report tonight. This group of senators was elected by their peers in February of this year and have already begun their work preparing for the 2021-2022 school year. Several are already attending our bi-weekly Senate meetings to ensure they get off on a positive start. And I would like to thank this year's current Senate for mentoring our next year's Senate. They held their trustee elections at their orientation meeting in March, and I would like to introduce you to next year's Senate. From Bruce Peninsula District School, we have Mackenzie Zevenbergen, and I believe Mackenzie's with us tonight. So Mackenzie, you might want to put your camera on. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Hi.
Hello.
Community School, we have Ren Merritt, and I don't believe that Ren is with us tonight. From Grey Highlands Secondary School, we have Trinity Shaw, and Trinity was elected one of our student trustees for next year. Welcome, Trinity. From John Diefenbaker Senior School, we have Jackson Ray, and I don't believe that Jackson is here tonight. From Kincardine District Senior School, we have Juliana Rutledge, who you may recognize because she's a return senator, and we're pleased to have her back. Welcome, Juliana. From Owen Sound District Secondary School, we have Gabriel Rossiter, and Gabriel was also elected as trustee by his peers. Welcome, Gabe. From Peninsula Shores District School, we have Maggie Klunder, and Maggie is not with us tonight. From Peninsula Shores District School, we have our Indigenous Senator, Janice Sulky, and Janice is not here. From Saugeen District Senior School, Sean Bandy, and Sean is not with us tonight. From Saugeen District Senior School, our Indigenous Senator, Ireland Sawyer, who is not with us tonight. And from Walkerton District Community School, we have Jessica Verhees, and she's not with us tonight. It will be my pleasure to continue to work with the Student Senate again in the 2021-2022 school year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Do trustees have any comments or questions? I see none, but I see Director Wilder.
It's lovely to see a bit of a theme tonight, beginning with our excellence in education, where we had student voice, and then we had that amazing report done by Sebastian, and now introducing our new Senate for next year. Student voice is so incredibly important to all of us. I mean, that's why we do what we do. And so I too want to thank the outgoing Senate and welcome the incoming Senate. It's just lovely to have you here with us, and we look forward very much to your input and contributions next year.
Thank you. And I echo that to the ones that have been able to join us tonight. Welcome. We look forward to meeting everyone in person, perhaps in the fall, but welcome. Look forward to working with you, and please reach out to us and to Superintendent Elliott. We do welcome your voice, and we want to hear what you have to say. So it was moved by Trustee McComb, seconded by Trustee Atkinson, that the Blue Water District School Board receive the 2021-2022 Student Trustees and Senators Report for information. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. And next, I'd like to invite Director Wilder to speak to this next report of the provincial and national award winners. And I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Blue Water Schools Provincial, National, International Award Recognition 2019-20 and 2020-21 report for information. It's moved by Trustee Johnstone, seconded by Trustee Atkinson, and welcome Director Wilder.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure to bring this report forward this evening. And this report is capturing and highlighting provincial, national, and international awards received by students and staff in Blue Water in connection with school activities. But the COVID pandemic has presented challenges in both the 1920 and 2021 school years, since many school activities and events whose awards are recognized on this report have been deferred or canceled. So we are so proud of the leadership, innovation, and resiliency of students and staff in Blue Water during these unusual times. And so we have combined the report, and we'd like to take the opportunity to highlight some of the awards received during these past 2 school years, which were included on the report. And we realize that there are many students and staff who receive recognition for events they participate in outside of school that are not listed on the report. So I'd just like to highlight some of them, not all of them. They are there for your reading pleasure, but I just wanted to begin, and due to her success at the Canada-wide Science Fair in 18-19 school year, Islay Graham, who is now a student at Owen Sound District Secondary School, received the Ontario Junior Citizen of the Year Award from the Ontario Community Newspaper Association in 2020. This great achievement through her school project is a result of her hard work and dedication to the preservation of the endangered Great Lakes piping plovers. Going down the report a bit, the Caribou Mathematics Competition, or Caribou Cup, is an international online math contest held 6 times over the course of a school year. And in January 2021, Nivid Menon of Alexandra Community School received a perfect score and took home first place in the grade 3-4 level while competing against other grade 3-4 students across the globe. I am going to highlight one that came in after the report was sent out to trustees. So this doesn't show up on your report, but this year, John Diefenbaker Senior School student Avril Bender was selected out of over 6,000 applicants to receive the McCall McBain Provincial Award from the Loren Scholars Foundation. The purpose of the award is an investment in a young person's potential future path of high impact, and recipients are selected based on evidence of character, service, and leadership. Congratulations on this momentous achievement, Avril. For their outstanding practices, elementary and secondary school teachers can be nominated for the Prime Minister's Awards for Teaching Excellence, And this past year, Tyler Boyle, who currently teaches at McPhail Memorial Elementary School in Flesherton, was a recipient of the Ontario Certificate of Achievement with the 2020 Prime Minister's Awards for Teaching Excellence program. Congratulations, Tyler, on your continued success and for inspiring students in Blue Water. So as I started this report, it's an absolute pleasure to profile all of the people on here, our staff and students, who have received this recognition, and we send congratulations from all of us. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustees have any comments or questions? I just have one question. How do we share this wonderful news to the community?
Well, we historically it's been through the board meeting. I mean, those who join in could see we haven't really had a formal process where we've done it through the media. We haven't done it through media release or not, but if you have any suggestions you'd like us to consider, we could do that. And if I could add, I do know that some of the award winners already have been recognized within the media. I know the young student from Alexandra, he had airtime on our local radio station. He was profiled in our newspaper. I think that's a case. I've seen a lot of coverage of the science fair or the science award winners as well. So there's already been a lot. That's Tyler as well, Tyler Boyle, our staff. He received a lot of recognition. We've profiled these folks on our webpage as well. So along the way, we've been doing a lot of work to do so.
No, that's excellent. And I see Fran, I'm going to let Trustee Morgan speak, and my battery's running low. I have to plug in. So if you see me disappear, that's why. Go ahead, okay. Trustee Morgan.
Thanks, Chair. As far as suggestions, as far as putting it out there, we're constantly looking, particularly in areas where different boards overlap our schools, and we're looking for ways to encourage people to stay with Blue Water. I think it would be very good to go to the press and say, these are our achievements this year. I think we should be extremely proud of all of these people. Thank you.
Trustees have any other comments? I was thinking similarly. I think it doesn't hurt ever to acknowledge and celebrate. There's lots of things that have been challenging for us over the past year. Any celebrations we can come up with, I think, are welcomed. But is there any opposition to having a media release about our award winners? I see none. Thank you. It was moved by Trustee Johnstone, seconded by Trustee Atkinson, that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Blue Water Schools Provincial, National, International Award Recognition 2019, 2020, 2020, 21 report for information. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. This takes us to our multi-year strategic plan update. So I'd like to invite Director Wilder to speak to this report, and I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the multi-year strategic plan priorities update report for information. I see Trustee Johnstone and a seconder, Trustee McComb, and welcome Director Wilder.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. I am most pleased to introduce this evening's report on our multi-year strategic plan priorities. For those who may not be aware, the current multi-year strategic plan was approved back in December 2019 based on public feedback and the hard work of our trustees. The strategic priorities that we will be outlining in a moment are the foundation for our work and professional learning in Blue Water. We will be taking you through each of the priority areas to highlight some of the work that has been accomplished over the past year and our planned next steps as we move forward. It goes without saying that our present circumstances in education are unparalleled in recent history. And I would like to recognize and thank everyone, our trustees, staff, partners, students, and families who have gone above and beyond this past year to align their work and approaches with the spirit of our multi-year strategic plan. The global pandemic has not shaken our commitment to our Blue Water mission, which is to provide a quality education for every student in a safe, accepting, and caring environment. I would like now to welcome Superintendent Elliott, who will lead us off as we take a closer look at our strategic priorities.
Good evening again. I am pleased to begin the report with an overview of our accomplishments and next steps in the area of student and staff well-being. This year has really emphasized how foundational it is to ensure the well-being of students and staff in a safe, supportive environment for teaching, learning, and working. And through this priority, we work together to support wellness and foster the strengths, contributions, and overall health of all of our students and staff. Everything we do in the area of well-being is structured into a three-tiered system, with Tier 1 being foundational work that is helpful for all, Tier 2 being around targeted prevention, and Tier 3 being the more intensive intervention and assessment that is necessary for some of our students and staff. For our student well-being under promotion and prevention, we really rely heavily on resources from School Mental Health Ontario. They have a wonderful website and many peer-reviewed resources for us to use with staff and students. We also developed a Blue Water guide for mental health services that outlines all of the services available for staff and students. And we focused this year on ensuring mental health resources and information are accessible to all on the board website. For Tier 2 services, we had many school-based consultations with stakeholders and used a shared support model for case conferences to support youth and their parents and guardians. We hired 3 new mental health workers to round out our team of 6 and to close a gap in service for grades 7 and 8. We expanded our psychological services to include consultation in the area of mental health for students in junior kindergarten and up to grade 6. We made some updates to forms and procedures and consent to streamline the process and make it easier for parents to access support for their children. And we focused on our new mental health workers visiting grade 7 and 8 classrooms to ensure that students had some in-service on mental health and mental health awareness. As for our intensive intervention and assessments, that part of the role is really helping students access community and health services to provide needed ongoing care for students when they're who are at school. And we rely on our very strong partnerships in the community. And we have many, but I'll just outline a few. For instance, Canadian Mental Health Association, SOHAC, which is the Southwest Ontario Aboriginal Health Access Centre, and Keystone Child and Youth. As far as strategies for staff well-being, we always rely heavily on our Organizational Health and Wellness Committee that meets throughout the year and has representatives from all of our work groups. And that's where we plan a lot of the work that we institute for our staff. We market our employee and family assistance program quite heavily to our staff to ensure that they have an outside agency as well that they can lean on if need be. Some of the initiatives we undertook this year was a 2-part wellness presentation series. And then we also had many presentations to the Org Health and Wellness Committee on topics such as flourishing, managing anxiety and stress, and workplace violence prevention. And as I said earlier, we did develop the guide for mental health supports in Blue Water. Our work is never done in the area of well-being. And so our next steps are to continue to develop, expand, and refine our mental health and wellness initiatives, to continue to build on our strong community partnerships, and to continue to focus on providing accessible, evidence-based resources to students, families, and staff. And this includes continuous improvements on our website in the area of well-being. And that is my portion of the report tonight.
So I'm going to step in if that's okay and take the second
ahead.
portion of the report. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. The second portion of the report this evening around quality instruction and learning experiences. I'm going to start us off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Lefebvre, who's also going to share in this priority as well. I'm going to start off by highlighting the work of our team this year around mathematics and literacy. So even though we have had a very different year in education, we have continued to prioritize and support and work on our mathematics improvement and our mathematics learning in the district, as well as our literacy learning. So in mathematics, we continue to work with other experts in the field, including Doug Duff and Marion Small, who you've heard us speak about before, and as well as continuing to work with our Math Up resources. We have just been on this journey for the past couple years, and so we continue to work with these resources and learn about them and leverage all that they have to offer for our teaching staff and for our administrators. This year, we also saw the release of the new mathematics elementary curriculum. And so we have been able to do some work with that, but for a next step, we will be focusing on this for next school year as a priority. We also, this year, we're anticipating and eagerly awaiting the grade 9 de-streamed math curriculum. It doesn't take effect, of course, as you know, until the fall of 2021. However, it was just released this past week. So we have already begun some dialogue and discussions with secondary math teachers and with our principals. We are looking at resources. We've held some webinars or drop-in Teams calls for teachers to ask questions, and we have been supporting our principals, and we will continue to do that work until the end of this school year, and we will start right back up again in the fall with that work. Along with that, then in terms of literacy, we this year talked to you about launching our Science of Reading project, and we hired a primary literacy coach, which was a new position for us this year. And we worked closely with our student support and psychology team, speech and language, and then our curriculum leads to focus on what does the research tell us about how the brain learns to read? How can we work with teachers to share that information? And what does that look like then in teaching and learning in the classroom? So we started that project this year with some schools that volunteered to be part of the project. And a next step for us is we are hoping to expand that project next school year to include more schools and to continue that important work. So I think then Superintendent Lefebvre, I'll turn it to you to continue on in this priority.
Thank you very much. So continuing on, my work tends to lie within this priority with respect to the multi-year strategic plan. I'm going to highlight the fact that a number of opportunities were made available to staff for subsidized training in the areas of Indigenous education, special education, autism. Subsidies were also available for teachers to receive training in mathematics and French as a second language additional qualifications. So lots of professional development opportunities for our teachers available for them. We also had a special presentation regarding with Canadian diplomat Stephen Lewis. This was a powerful event, and I think a number of you participated in that, and we had wonderful response from students and staff, and I think that really was a great event to kick off Education Month and in across the district, and to really get students thinking and talking about the power of student voice and what students can do in the world. We've done a number of things with respect to equity and inclusive education, including our work with Stephanie Cheerhart, our Indigenous advisor, as well as Nigan Sinclair and George McCauley. And a lot of this work is centered around the work, as Superintendent Penner Lipset talked about, with respect to de-streaming grade 9 mathematics, and the fact that the real impetus for the de-streaming movement has been to achieve equity within the Ontario classrooms, and that's why we're looking at the de-streaming classes like mathematics. We were able to also initiate and almost complete, it's going to be completed over the summer, the provision of free feminine hygiene products in all of our schools through our Accessible Period product project, and that will be done and launched in the fall. So we're busy ordering all of those products right now. We've also accomplished a number of other things that are in the report there, but I'm just highlighting a few of them. Our Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program has been extremely busy this year, and you've heard from Dave Barrett a couple of times, especially with respect to the welding equipment upgrades and the simulators that have been purchased around the district. We've really engaged a lot of students in some really interesting activities, and they're interested in the trades and they want to be involved, and that's what we want to see, that passion for learning something new. We've established a workforce demographic data steering committee. This is part of our demographic data project, and next year we are going to be collecting demographic data for both staff through an anonymous survey in the fall, in early winter, as well as a student census that will be done later next year, and you'll find out more about that next year. And for next steps coming up, I do want to highlight something that was just now. We've received word on this, and I was just able to share this with Director Wilder recently around our regional planning team number 10. The regional planning team that is part of the School College Work Initiative throughout Ontario allows us to sit at various regional planning teams. We are currently part of one with respect to Georgian College. We've now been granted permission to join another regional planning team, which is part of the Fanshawe group in the southern portion of the province and closer to the southern portions of Grey and Bruce County. This is going to allow us to be able to offer some dual credit programs for some of our students in those areas. Right now, those students had to come to Georgian College in Owen Sound in order to access some of these dual credit courses. So this is a huge opportunity for us. We're very excited about that moving forward. And we're also participating through our workforce census survey. We're going to complete an employment systems review with human resources, and that's going to greatly enhance the equity and inclusivity of the work that we do within Blue Water. So we're very happy and excited about that. I'm going to turn it back to Superintendent Penner Lipset, who will be talking about parent engagement.
Okay, thank you very much, Superintendent Lefebvre. So in terms of our Parent Engagement Committee, or PIC, this year we have seen very good engagement and turnout. So that was really nice to see. We've had increase in membership this year. And one thing we have talked about at our meetings is the use of Teams or the virtual meeting has potentially help to increase some of that engagement. Parents from different communities can be part of the discussion. We can turn our cameras on and still see each other and have dialogue and, ask questions and answer questions. So that's been a highlight for this year, and we hope to continue to grow and leverage that for next school year. We launched our first PIC thought exchange this year, and I'm going to just be speaking to you a little bit later in the agenda, so I'll share some results with you. But again, that was a first for this committee, and hoping again that we could continue to engage parent voice through a tool like Thought Exchange. We continue to work with our schools in their school improvement planning process, or as we would say, the SIPSA at the school level. There is a piece in the SIPSA where schools talk about how to engage parents, how to work with parents, how to work as a community. And we continue to have those discussions with our principals, and they work with their school teams in that regard, and that will be continue to be a focus for us. Leveraging technology has been something we have talked about also in terms of next steps. For example, when you want to host something like what Superintendent Lefebvre mentioned with the Stephen Lewis event, we were able to offer that across the district for students and staff. So that might be something to think about with engaging parents as well, you know, in a guest speaker or in a topic of interest for parents. So that is something that we are looking at as a potential next step. And of course, our parent committee has let us know that one thing they'd like to look at PIC moving forward, there's some specific topics they've given us already that they'd like some updates at each of our meetings. So we're looking at incorporating those topics into the upcoming meetings next school year. So we're well on our way in planning for those. Thank you. I think then I am turning it over to Superintendent Cummings for the next priority.
Thank you, Lauren. Moving into the fourth priority, the accountability of resources, the responsible stewardship of resources at that. A number of strategic goals under there. And, you know, first of all, over the past year, our focus has certainly been to ensure our resources have been placed and procured and accessible to all of our school sites and our staff. You know, the focus really was on a healthy school environment and getting everything in place to make sure that was done. And as you know, with the challenges we had this year, a lot of the things that we were doing to accomplish this were new to us. So I couldn't be more pleased with this organization in terms of how it handled a lot of the tasks that we had to get done this year. So certainly within that priority, there's a number of strategic goals. The first being the align human and financial resources to maximize operational efficiencies. And I'm not going to go through everything. The report's well documented, but certainly, you know, some of the big roles for us this year, we're working with the ministry and all the COVID-19 priorities and partnership funding, the review, the assessment, the working with all the other groups and the collaboration in terms of how those were carried out, and the never-ending reporting, which quite honestly, the reporting levels on this going through to December 31st will certainly keep us busy. And again, monitoring the physical spaces in our schools, ensuring the personal protective equipment was available, the cleaning products. If you look back to last year at this time, and we were looking at how to get all this going, it was new to a lot of people. And there was a lot of fingers into the processes in terms of how to do that. We got it going with the ministry and communication in terms of procedure out to everybody. So that certainly helped get that going for everybody for a safe year. I'm going to just stop here and share this pillar with Andrea Tang to talk about our cultivating leadership to facilitate succession planning.
Thank you. Through the chair, there are two pieces I would like to highlight of the work done in Human Resource Services this year. And the first is the work that you've been involved in with the drafting of policies to reflect the changes in PPM 165 about equitable hiring practices for teachers. And there's been integration between Superintendent Lefebvre's work with the demographic survey for employees and broadening the scope of our hiring practices to include the hiring of all employees. And the second piece I would like to highlight is the succession planning, which is also an integrated approach that's shared with Superintendent Elliott's work with the emerging leadership and professional development for our leaders. It's been the pleasure of Human Resource Services to participate in professional development for emerging leaders and also for our new administrators and vice principals, and just continuing to work with our leaders that are in the system right now, identifying our future leaders both for administrative positions and for senior administrative positions. So those are the pieces I would like to highlight for Human Resource Services.
Thanks, Andrea. That's great. Carrying on into the ensure transparency. Certainly, we have had a lot of meetings this year talking about different updates with regards to actions taken on COVID. So we've certainly kept our board and our public up to speed in terms of everything that was going on there with regular school update reports to you. And certainly, the budget process, which was passed tonight, which is, certainly a wonderful effort among everyone in terms of engagement, in terms of collaboration and feedback from everyone. Those early months of collaboration are, they're invaluable to the process and they're a requirement of the process. So we will continue to look at that going forward to increase the breadth of that scope of that inclusion. But certainly there's a number of things under that strategic priority. Under encourage partnerships, well, recently we had our community planning partnership meeting, but I think there's so much more. There's a regular dialogue going on with our partners and potential partners. So just while we're closing up leases with childcare operators or different municipal partners, there's other ones on the back burner that are currently being cultivated as we move forward. And that's a big part of what we do. And it's something that we are getting better at moving forward. So we're quite pleased with that and how that is working out this year. Certainly, the support and promote where possible the implementation of environmental procedures is well documented. That's actually kind of a lens that we look at everything. I mean, it's not always a finance lens for us. Certainly, we look at our environment. So. And probably some of the big things this year is pretty obvious. I mean, we had all the PPE, we had the cleaning products, we had all that. We had a very large investment from the ministry in terms of air quality and HVAC work, and which we have done just a huge amount of work in terms of going through every single school's HVAC unit and getting a third-party assessment on the quality and optimization of that air transfer and air work. And that has been an excellent use of that investment. As you know, we also moved to a higher efficiency air filter with our schools. And of course, there was the CVRIS investments, and that was the touchless hand wash stations and the touchless water filling stations that are going in this summer. So quite a few things there. And I mean, it doesn't really stop there. Those are the kind of the highlights. And we continue to look at even little things that improve our environment for our students and staff. Next steps in terms of moving forward, there continues to be many valued initiatives ahead of us. And I know our team is looking forward to it as much as the organization is in terms of what's next. But, we will always continue to focus on a safe school environment. And, there's a long list there of things that are going on. We have new schools opening, we have new schools being constructed, we have school sites being assessed for new construction. So that's a big part of our role going forward to make sure that's working. And certainly our risk management modeling is moving along as well. And we're looking forward to making that a little bit more effective into our future. I think I'm going to leave it there. There's a long list and I can go on for quite a while. Certainly you've heard from all the areas, and I'll stop now and leave this open for questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Trustees have any comments or questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have a question about the accessible period product initiative about how many washrooms in schools that the machines and products will be placed in. Thank you.
Sure, through the chair. What we did was we offered one for each division. So junior, grade 4 to 6, then 7 and 8, which is part of intermediate, and then 9 to 12. those are typically how the washrooms are broken up into a school, so that in like a K to 12 school, you would usually, I mean, you wouldn't have your students in grades 4 to 6 using the same washroom as someone in the high school. And typically it's also not the same washroom as someone even in the intermediate, although sometimes they are. Sometimes it might be a 4, if let's say there's one washroom for 4 to 8 and then there's another washroom for 7 to 12, then we gave one per division. So we gave anywhere between 1 and 3 machines for the schools, so that any girl in any of the in any school would have access to the free product in a washroom that they have access to.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Yes, go ahead.
What about gender-neutral washrooms for those students who menstruate who use those washrooms? And also, what about schools that have multiple washrooms that cater to the menstruating population? Thank you.
So through the chair, so for gender neutral washrooms are typically they're smaller washrooms, like a single unit washroom. And what we've offered for each of those schools is we have the product, and what we suggest is that you, rather than put a dispenser in a single washroom, which would be really, really big and kind of awkward, we thought it made much more sense to just provide the product and suggest that they offer it or have it available like in the washroom itself, so that it's not necessarily in a machine in the washroom. And the second question, with respect to multiple washrooms, I know that some schools have opted or asked to purchase additional machines, in which case we have ordered them for them at a cost of approximately $300 each. And school budgets, given the current year, are healthy, and they had no problems with purchasing additional. If they, let's say, had 5 washrooms that served students from grades 4 to 12, then they might have purchased an additional 2 for those washrooms.
Trustee Dawson?
Thank you, Chair Thompson. My question is, come fall, how will students be made aware of the availability of these machines?
Good question. Through the chair, what we have done is we've started to put together some marketing materials, including the stickers that are going on the units themselves, and we're trying to decide to and come up with a plan as to where else we can put that information around the school and make it available. I think word is going to probably spread quite quickly that these products are available, which is what we're hoping. But if you have any suggestions, then absolutely, please send them my way, because my team is trying to come up with some ideas as to how we can get word out there.
I have a suggestion. I'm all about the media. I think this is a good news story that should be released to the media at some point to celebrate what Blue Water's doing.
Thank you. I can work with, through the chair, I can work with Jamie Pettit around something and talk with my colleagues on the senior team. Thank you.
Do trustees have any objections to that suggestion? No. Are there any other questions or comments? I would like to make 2 comments. First, I'd like to compliment all the staff who've worked so hard to, I hate to use this word, but pivot and shift and react and deal with what we've been dealt this past year, both from a pandemic point of view and from a provincial point of view. People have done a really lovely job. But I'd also like to take a minute to thank the trustees. And I hope, as you've heard this report, and I appreciate Trustee Lutz asking her questions, but I hope you see your hand in some of the work that has happened this year, and the comments and questions, suggestions, and the nudges that you've put in along the year to say Maybe this is a good idea. It's when we all work together that Blue Water is a stronger board. And I certainly see the work that you have done behind the scenes to help some of those initiatives and things move along. So I just wanted to thank you for that. If there's no further questions, it was moved by Trustee Johnstone and seconded by Trustee McComb that the Blue Water District School Board receive the multi-year strategic plan priorities update report for information. All in favor? Thank you, that is carried. And that takes us to our school update report. And I'd like to invite Superintendent of Education, Elliott. I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the school update report for information. I see Trustee Dawson, a seconder. Do I see Trustee Lutz? And welcome, Superintendent Elliott.
Good evening again. I have a couple of updates tonight related to COVID-19 and our protocols. The first is regarding vaccinations. As you are aware, all of our staff have had the opportunity to receive their first dose of vaccine, and now staff have who received their first dose when provided by public health through us are free to book their second dose either through the provincial booking system or through a pharmacy. And along the same note, vaccinations continue for students age 12 plus, and we're working with public health to get the word out when clinics are made available for students 12 plus and their families. We've also been working as the year end comes to a close to provide an opportunity for families to retrieve belongings from schools, and this opportunity has been organized through a schedule for students and their families with appointments between now and the end of the school year. We anticipate, as far as protocols into the future, we anticipate further information from the ministry regarding protocols, and we expect that information to come in over the summer months. When we receive that information, we'll work in partnership with public health to update our own protocols to make sure that they align and set us up for a safe school year for 2021-2022. And that's my portion of the report tonight.
Okay, I think I'm taking over. Oh, sorry.
Trustee Dawson, did you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to thanks for this report. I'm just wondering what protocols are being put in place for returning equipment over the summer?
So yes, we do have a protocol in place as well to bring back our technology and specialized equipment. So we have students sending those items into generally the principal or the learning resource teacher at each school to make sure that we have those collected, and then those be sent to, if it's technology, sent to the board office for upgrading or re-imaging over the summer.
Thank you. Trustee or Superintendent Lefebvre.
Thank you. So that was a good question. It kind of segued into something that I was going to talk about with respect to return of equipment and personal belongings. So those protocols and instructions have gone out to staff, and they are busy planning for students to be able to pick up their personal belongings from the school, and that can happen before the end of the year. And then dropping off the technology will not take place until the very end of the year, because obviously the people who have borrowed that technology require it right until the end of the year in order to take part in their learning. So those drop-offs and protocols have all been put in place, and they have been distributed out to staff. And I just wanted to give you an update with respect to remote school. We did receive all of those numbers. I know at the last committee of the whole, we were when we were meeting, we had just received kind of preliminary numbers, and the number crunching came in, and the following day we were able to determine that we had about 170 elementary students and approximately 70 secondary students, which is approximately what we anticipated. Our department, Superintendent Cummings' department, is very in tune with what's going on around the province, and they had talked with other boards, and they had found that what they were getting was about 20% return for the remote students that were out there this year, compared to next year. So what was happening, and we figured we had a little over 1,000 students who were participating in remote learning, and we ended up with just over 200 students that are coming back to remote learning next year. So that's very much in line with what other boards are experiencing. Unfortunately, the numbers are somewhat awkward in terms of programming a secondary school with 70 students. And I have to commend Superintendent Tang on the incredible work that she's done, as well as our current administrators in the remote school in terms of the planning that has taken place to get ready for remote learning next year. And that remote learning program looks like we have approximately eight elementary classrooms, including a developmental learning classroom that will be situated throughout the board. And we've been able to staff that with staff who both through a volunteer mechanism as well as student staff who need to be accommodated with remote learning. And then we are in the process of putting together staffing with respect to secondary and being able to staff that as well. Now, the grade 9 and 10 programming for remote learners is almost a set program when you have only 70 students in there. There's not a lot of options in terms of what they're able to take. However, and we have to be a little more creative in terms of what we're able to offer the grade 11 and 12. And we're certainly going to leverage all of the course options and selections available through ELO, through the provincial consortium that we belong to. So that's very handy for us as well. And that was, I think, very forward thinking of the board to be looking at the consortium in the last couple of years. So we're well positioned. We know our numbers. We realize that they're we're going to have different news over the course of the next couple of months. The province is going to probably be telling us things that require us to do a little bit of pivoting, but we're in a really good position right now moving into remote learning for next year. Are there any questions with respect to remote learning?
I have one.
Sure.
Do the students in remote learning know what their timetable might look like? Or are they expecting something different?
They do not have their timetables as of yet. However, Superintendent Tang, are you able to update? Because I know that you've been working with Principal Slater.
Yes. So the grade 9s, it will be one program, and we have them generally set. Just yesterday, we sent the information back to the schools where the students that have asked for remote learning are currently registered. And now the guidance counselors are beginning to meet with those students virtually. So for grade 9s, it's one program. For grade 10s, there's a little bit of choice. And then the grade 11s and 12s, we have about half the program and possibly available in the remote program by Blue Water. We did put additional e-learning courses hosted by Blue Water in to meet the other course needs for our Blue Water students. And in addition, if those courses will not work for them, they would have the opportunity to reach out to the provincial consortium to select courses from there as well. So that process is now going on for those secondary students.
And a follow-up, thank you, a follow-up question. If a student finds in the first semester, quadmester, whatever we're calling what it is is there an opportunity for them to make a shift back into the classroom at some point through the year, or are they for the full year remote learner?
We did ask for a full year commitment. This year we did look at where there was the possibility to accommodate a student's needs if the switch was possible. So it's a little bit difficult to answer. English, for example, would only be offered once in the remote learning program. So a student trying to shift in who hadn't had English and had missed it in remote would not have a second opportunity. This is a very tiny school. It's smaller than Bruce Peninsula. So there are split classes, of course. And I think a couple times we have 2 grade classes to try to make it work for students. So I think it would be probably easier to go from remote back to a school, in the sense there would be more places that a student could find a course they could take, maybe not their first or second choice, but something. Coming in might be more difficult in terms of meeting all of the students' needs. The other difficulty for students making that choice is that once we have developed timetables for all of our students, we will make the seats in our Blue Water e-learning available to the province. We know there are other boards that also have small secondary remote schools. So many of those seats may be gone at that point, which might make it difficult to build a timetable that would get a grade 12 student, for example, the 6 university courses that they need for a university application. So it's limited flexibility.
Thank you. I appreciate your answer. As a parent who went through Bruce Peninsula, which is a small high school, I appreciate the complications that go along with trying to fulfill all of your needs for all the students. I thank you for the answer. Trustee Johnstone?
Yes, and thank you very much. And I believe the question is probably to Superintendent Tang. So you talked about the provincial consortium. So the consortium that Blue Water had been a part of, that's been disbanded totally?
No, we have run normally some Blue Water e-learning courses. For example, for some of our smaller secondary schools, where in a given year there might be very few students who need grade 12 university physics or grade 12 college physics. So we have had these courses that Blue Water students have taken for quite a few years. And then just this year, I believe, we started this, Superintendent Lefebvre, is that correct?
Yes.
Last summer, we've been participating in a provincial arrangement where if we have extra seats in our course, someone from another board could take them, and our students might be able to select a course being offered somewhere else in the province as well. So we continue to participate in that program.
A follow-up, please?
Go ahead.
So
yes,
thank you very much, Chair Thompson. It was just confusing for me, because I know we have this consortium, and I did, when you just talked about provincial, I didn't know if you were talking about the courses that the province is offering to everybody, or you were talking about the consortium we belong to. So it wasn't clear to me. That's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from trustees? I see none. Is there another presentation?
No, I believe that is the end of the report.
So can I ask a very simple question? What is September going to look like at this point?
We are anticipating that September is going to,
go ahead.
Go ahead. We are anticipating that September is going to be a fantastic startup with our students being able to attend in person. We're hoping to hear very shortly about the possibility of us maybe even being able to offer our secondary in a modified semester type format. If so, then I think we are looking very positive in terms of what we're able to offer our students. Of course, we're going to have protocols in place, and Superintendent Elliott would be the best or Director Wilder to talk about those. But we expect that we're still going to have our cohorting, social distancing, and all of those measures in place in order to make it safe for our staff and students. But we also expect our students to be, hopefully, our 12 and over students to be vaccinated and to have all of our staff be fully vaccinated. So immunized. This is yeah, I'm really looking forward to a positive September. Director Weiler?
Thank you. I was going to say the same, just that I see it as very hopeful. I see us coming out of this pandemic, and the ministry has told us to plan as best as possible for full face-to-face learning, but still having to honor those who want the remote learning option. They have indicated to us that in the summer, they're going to probably in the first couple of weeks of August communicate with us in terms of if restrictions can be lifted or any kind of extra information. I know Superintendent Lefebvre referenced our secondary schedule that we're using right now. The ministry set a quadmester approach. If you're following some of TJ Gert's updates, it's not really a timetable that students appreciate, nor locally do our students appreciate. As you know, we've been doing one course per day for a full week, and it's been tough. It's been very, very tough. So at least we have been given by the ministry still to continue with quadmester, but we can have 2 courses a day, so an A and B. What we're hoping to do, and in consultation with Bruce Grey Catholic, we are going to propose to the ministry to try to do a modified semester. So first week would be AB, second week CD, and then flip through that for that whole semester. So that works beautifully because it's still an opportunity for students to work on all 4 courses at the time, but the ministry has to approve that. And already Public Health has approved that schedule for us. We have a letter from them. I did make a call. I didn't hear back today, just to the ministry official that we have to communicate with. We have letters ready to go. So I'm very hopeful that we can begin offering, the government's talking too about extracurriculars coming back, our sports events coming back, so our field trips. That is what we want to see, return to a fulsome school program.
And a follow-up, so we won't know exactly what the ministry will allow or not allow until sometime into the summer.
In terms of the secondary schedule, hopefully we will know before we leave in June what they approve or not. What our thinking is, though, and the senior team was discussing this today, is if they don't approve our modified semester and say, no, you can only go A, B and repeat it, our thinking is that maybe midsummer they'll say, no, things are lightening up, so you can offer A, B, C, D if you want. So we can only do what we can do. We'll try to get the permission early, and if not, then we will start the year with the AB, and who knows what they may tell us in mid-August. So it's a little bit like last year where things are up in the air, but we will comply with what we need to and try to ease the restrictions as we move forward based on public health advice and what the ministry allows.
I know our remote learners are attached to a school. Will those remote learners be able to participate in extracurricular, assuming that is happening?
We are still in discussions on that, but that does present some difficulties. We've not made a final decision, but we will look for, we will consider that. It's just, it does provide some liability and different issues for us. And really our sense is if they're picking remote learning, it's because of a medical issue, immune compromise themselves and or their family members. So the idea of coming to participate in a sporting event really doesn't comply with the rationale for them being in remote learning.
Thank you. So I assume that the senior staff will keep us apprised of, and I will if I see any memos from the ministry over the summer. And we will assume that people are coming back to school in person, relatively normal with protocols in place. and our remote school people will be accommodated as best we are able. And we'll receive memos of any adjustments to that as we move through the summer. Is that correct?
Through the chair, we will absolutely update you. Anything that we hear, as you said, we can send out in a trustee update for sure. And any memos, we will continue to send them through.
Thank you. It's just helpful if we're asked in our communities about what school will look like, what's happening at the end of this year, but I think people's focus is on to what will happen as we move into the fall. So I appreciate that, and we'll keep people as up to date as we are able, and we'll see what happens as the summer unfolds. Thank you. Was there any other questions or comments from trustees? Trustee Dawson?
Thank you, Chair Thompson. Listening to this and thinking back to last summer, I have a concern for the well-being of our senior team. Last summer was very stressful for you, and it looks like this summer might not be too much different. I would hope that the senior team takes some time for themselves and their family during the summer as much as possible, so that come September, everybody's refreshed and ready to go.
I echo that, and I suspect all the other trustees do too. Thank you, Trustee Dawson. I see no other comments or questions, so I would like to, it was moved by Trustee Dawson and seconded by Trustee Lutz that the Blue Water District School Board receive the school update report for information. All in favor? Thank you, that is carried. So I'd like to invite Superintendent of Education Penner Lipset to speak to the Parent Involvement Committee Thought Exchange. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Parent Involvement Committee Thought Exchange report for information. Could I have a mover, please? Trustee Morgan, seconded by Trustee Atkinson, and welcome Superintendent Penner Lipset.
Thank you very much. So as I referenced earlier, I've talked to you about previously, the Parent Involvement Committee is very excited that they launched their first thought exchange, and sometimes we would just update you in the PIC committee report, but we thought since this was parent voice and there was information received in, that we would share it in a report with you this evening. So I'm going to try to share my screen again. I do have just a short PowerPoint with some information. So we'll try this and hope it works. Just to get to the right one. Okay, are you able to see that on your screens?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the Thought Exchange tool itself allows you to create a PowerPoint with the information that is received at the end. So the template you're seeing tonight and the format is part of what Thought Exchange allows you to do. So the question that the Parent Involvement Committee put out to our parent community was around remote learning. During this period of remote learning, what is your greatest challenge and what is working well? So you'll see on this screen that this summarizes the number of unique participants. So the number of people or through their email participated. The second nugget shows 2,250 thoughts.
Lauren, we're still on the first slide for me.
Oh, okay. Did it change for anyone else? On my end, I've changed it.
I see the first screen as well, Lauren.
Okay.
Okay. And I just say I can't see any visuals, so extra description or at least the pertinent information is helpful.
Okay, thanks for that. So let me try again. I will maybe stop sharing. I apologize for that. And I thought I had it in presentation mode, but we'll try here again, just in case I don't.
Do you see it now, Lauren?
Do you see the screen now? Okay, we'll try this again. I apologize for the delay.
Now we see the participation breakdown.
Okay, you see participants and thoughts and ratings? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Good. Okay, well, we'll try this. So what this screen shows you is that 1,705 participants or unique people participated in the thought exchange. Those participants shared 2,250 thoughts. So that tells us that some participants shared more than one thought. The ratings that you see beside the stars, 42,332, each thought can receive a rating of up to 5 stars. So the stars count the number of total stars people rated a thought or an idea that was shared. So so for example, I'll show you on the next screen how this might work. Do you see the next screen? I'll just make sure I'm in the right mode.
Yes.
This has a word cloud on it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So great. The word cloud that you see here symbolizes the key words or words that were used multiple times in the thoughts that parents shared. So the larger the word, the more often that word was used in a thought. And of course, then the smaller the word, it was used, but maybe not as often. And you can see the larger words are around the center, words like social, health, full, interaction, mental, missing, and then it kind of works out friends, you'll see children, screen, and challenge. So some of those were key words that were repeated over and over in the thoughts that were shared. So this screen summarizes some of the key thoughts. I've got on the screen the key thought number 1, number 2, and number 3. You'll see the star rate, what I was referring to earlier with the star rating. There are 5 stars. And so what happens is, as a parent or a participant, I can share an idea. Then I can go back into the thought exchange and I can read other people's ideas. And then I can star the ideas that resonate with me, that I agree with, and I can give those rankings 1 star or 2 or 3, 4, or 5. So what you're seeing here is I'm going to share some of the top thoughts that were shared, and they are considered some of the key thoughts because they received many stars and were ranked by many participants. So they had a lot of traction, so to speak. So our top or key thoughts that parents shared were around these themes on the screen: the social aspect, kids missing friends, not good for kids to grow up sitting in front of a screen all day. Kids are missing their peer interactions, and it's important for social development and mental health. So those were some of our key thoughts. I have summarized the top 10 for you just to give you a sense. So on this screen, it talks again about children only socializing through phones and computers. The next thought, this one came up in different ways, but quite a lot through the exchange as well. My greatest challenge is I have a full-time job and my employer expects me to do, and my child is too young to navigate the online learning environment. So there were many thoughts shared by parents around the challenge of being a working parent, whether working from home and supporting remote learning or working outside the home and then trying to support remote learning. The next thought relates to that again, parental supervision while parents are working. And on the thought at the bottom of this slide around the challenge of getting children to stay focused. That came up quite a bit also when I was reading through. And this takes us just to the top 10. So my child is missing friends. My kids miss their friends and the social interaction. Not good for mental health, and this is not practical for a 12-hour shift working single parent, for example. So those were some of the key thoughts or top ranked thoughts during the thought exchange. The bar graph you see here is top themes that the thought exchange program itself sorts or organizes. So you can see on this bar graph that one of the top themes was related to interactions and social. So this relates to the word cloud again and those key words or key themes. So children and working from home, working parents, those were some of our top and key ideas. Oh, I see. I apologize. That slide is maybe in there twice. Yes, these were just a few other ones that were top ranked, not number 1 to 10, but still in those same themes. So focus and participation were a lot of comments around that. And then we did have some positive or comments come in from parents, and I did want to share and honor the parents that did contribute some positive thoughts. So I've captured a few on the screen here for you, where parents have said things like, my daughter seems to like online. The teacher's involvement is exceptional. It keeps my child engaged. The timing of meetings has been awesome. My daughter's able to predict when each class will be, and we can plan our day around the meetings. And another comment around internet access is good, 0 internet issues. These weren't the only positive ones. There was themes like these, where parents made comments about particular class schedules or particular classes that offered engaging activities, and the parents that had commented that their child did thrive in this environment. So from here, this information was shared at a PIC meeting, and we had a fulsome discussion around both the results and the use of the thought exchange tool moving forward. We shared some of the thoughts and feedback with the senior team that parents provided. I'm sharing with you tonight as the Board of Trustees. And we do have a ministry survey that Superintendent Lefebvre and I will need to be working to complete here shortly. The ministry has asked boards to complete a survey on remote learning. And so some of the comments and information that was gathered here will help inform our comments in our follow-up survey results or survey reporting. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
Trustees have any questions or comments?
I have a question at some point.
Go ahead, Trustee Lutz.
Thank you. So as a parent as well as trustee, I'm lucky enough to get to participate in these thought exchanges and always very much enjoy it. And I just have a question about the results, because I noticed as I participated that the top responses, so those that had the most stars, kind of never changed even over time. And well, it's possible everyone agreed that much. I was wondering if there's any sort of bias in the data for basically thoughts that are shared early on being shown to more people and that therefore getting more traction than others. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a really great question. I do know I monitored this daily because one feature also is the tool does flag some thoughts that identify individuals. For example, use full names, and it does flag, if there is inappropriate comments or language that doesn't meet the code. So I was constantly in the tool daily monitoring this, and the top thoughts were changing. I did see different thoughts rising to the top at the each day, for example. But I do understand your question because once a thought seemed to get a number of stars and a number of ratings, it is shared with parent or participants first when they come on later on. So I'm going to take your question back. Superintendent Lefebvre and I have been working directly with the Thought Exchange support team, and we have two contacts there that have been really great to help us understand the tool better. This is my first Thought Exchange that I've been helping to support, and I know Superintendent Lefebvre has been helping to support a couple. And so when these kinds of questions come up, we take them back to understand better. But Keith, do you have a comment on that question?
All I could say, Superintendent Tanner Lipset, is that, I mean, mathematically, if you present a thought later on, it is going to be presented to fewer people within the thought exchange. So it is less likely that it's going to rise to the top. So I think Trustee Lutz makes an accurate observation and just mathematically that if you put your thought out early, you're going to have more attraction and there's going to be more people looking at that thought and rating it. But it does distribute, and I know I've seen it just from participating. It does mix up the thoughts that you're allowed to rank. So it's not that it just picks those ones that are first, but certainly the first ones would have the most traction with the first few people that are participating.
I know one strategy our Thought Exchange contacts did let us know about is also to remind people, and it does say at the beginning and in the instructions, to come back often to rate thoughts, because as Superintendent Lefebvre said, if you only go in once to rate, you're missing thoughts that are added later that you haven't seen yet. So you haven't starred them or looked at them. So part of the idea of the Thought Exchange is to pop in and out a few times. So different thoughts will come up for you to rank. It won't bring you back to the ones you've already ranked and seen. It will take you to new thoughts that have been added. So that's a learning that we got that was shared with us.
Thank you, and thank you so much for explaining that you can take things back to the Thought Exchange people, and it might be worth finding out if it's possible to set it up so that when people come in, it is always randomized. Just because I did notice the more times I went in, so while there was some change, there did seem to be selection bias in the results. But it's great to hear that is something that everyone's aware of and working on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that question, Trustee Lutz. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. I was wondering, is this a good tool? So Trustee Lutz's question and your responses have been very valuable to me. And I also was wondering where else this might be useful for us, but it sounds like you're thinking that through, and I was thinking about the budget or other tools, but we'll look forward to hearing how that might be used moving forward. It was moved by Trustee Morgan and seconded by Trustee Atkinson that the Blue Water District School Board receive the Parent Involvement Committee Thought Exchange Report for information. All in favor? Thank you. That is carried. That takes us to communications. So, and correspondence. You will have all received, we received 5 pieces of correspondence in the past while, 4 of which have been memos from the Ministry of Education. And they're for information for us to know. So that's regarding the 2021 school year, the release of the grade 9 curriculum, regarding the outdoor year-end celebrations and COVID-19 for youth. We have 1 piece of correspondence from the Toronto Youth Cabinet requesting a letter of support be sent to the Minister of Education to fully fund free menstrual products in Ontario Trustee Lutz, did you have any comments that you wanted to make on this letter?
I'd like to say just that it was a very well put together letter from a group of youth who are working on this initiative province-wide, and given our hearty support for it within our board, I feel it would be fantastic for us to support their province-wide initiative. Thank you.
Trustees, have any other comments or questions about this letter? Trustee Johnstone?
Yeah, so are we going to, are we doing a motion, or are we just doing kind of a consensus that we would be replying and sending our support? Just wanted some clarification. I didn't want to move on and then go, oh, wait a minute.
I was thinking consensus, that people were in favor of writing a letter of support for province-wide. I mean, they've given us the wording, but province-wide funding for period products. So the question would be, is there anyone that's concerned about doing such a letter? I see none. So everyone is in favor of sending a letter of support from our board to the province, correct? And I'm seeing thumbs up and nodding of head. Thank you very much. That takes us to communications and announcements. Are there any announcements this evening? Trustee Johnstone?
Yes, sorry about that. I'm playing with So just to let you know that, and I think you were aware that this past weekend that the Ontario Public School Board's annual general meeting happened. For the Western region, Arlene Morrill, who is now the regional chair for the Western region, she was acclaimed. So you may know Arlene. She is with the Thames Valley District School Board. I am now the regional vice chair for the region, and Jane Thompson was nominated and acclaimed as an alternate on the policy committee, and I am also on the program committee. So that's you know, kind of AGM news, and basically you know, it's like a pandemic, so for the most part, the executive of OPSPA didn't change. And of course, we also sent a lovely letter to Robert Hucking, who had been the Western Regional's chair for the last couple of years. The other thing I wanted to say that came out
Jan,
of the
I just see Trustee Dawson has a hand up.
question. Okay. Yeah, because I'm off the screen, just to let you know, so you can kind of, thank you for saying that. Go ahead, Trustee Dawson. Yeah, because I'm reading it on the back screen.
I just wanted to congratulate both of you on your involvement with OPSPA. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. More news. So if you need, so if someone puts their hand up, Chair Thompson, let me know. Okay, perfect. So the other thing that happened is the Western region, we have actually what we call the CM Student Award from Western region. And so directors, you know, who sit in the Western region were sent a bunch of resumes that students had, you know, were sent in to actually qualify for this award. And I'm glad to let you know that the award winner was Sydney Morris, and she is from Saugeen District Community School. So I just wanted to let you know that, and Katie, you might want to send a note of congratulations. When I was reading her, basically her bio and resume, is that she really, you know, in her letter to you know, to the Western region, had to do with is how much community service. That was really the theme for the winner, and the criteria had nothing to do with academic achievement, and there were no transcripts that were required. However, just to let you know that in her applications to universities is she has 95%, and she remains on the honor roll through all her high school years. So I'd just like to say on behalf of the Western region is congratulations to Cindy Morris. And finally, I would like to read some excerpts from a letter that had been in the London Free Press the other day. It was two students who were friends with the female student who was killed. And so I'm just going to read it. So the reason why I'm going to read this is that at the AGM on Saturday, Corinne Rahman, who is a trustee with the Thames Valley School Board, she actually did the same excerpts, and I asked permission if that would be okay. And it was very, very moving at the AGM, so I thought I would share it with trustees. So it's a letter to basically the editor. So, dearest Yumna, the last few days have been unbearable for us. We can't make sense of it. We don't understand why anyone would kill you and your loving family. We feel like this is a nightmare that we can't wake up from. Remember when we would rush back from lunch every day and you would always lecture us on the importance of crossing the road safely? Remember when we ran for grade 9 student council together? Remember when your brother used to force us to play with him? Remember how excited we were about the future? Remember when we had laughed so hard we couldn't breathe? Remember when we planned to start an art business and you wanted to donate the profits to charity? Remember when we spilled all our secrets on Halloween? Remember when you wanted to put on the hijab, but you were afraid something was going to happen to you? Remember when we were afraid too? We are sorry we couldn't save you. We are sorry that our world failed you. So our promise to you, Yuma, is that we will dry our eyes and raise our voices until everyone hears us. We will tell the world Islamophobia is real and it killed you. We will tell them that we will wear our hijabs with pride. We will show them our hijab represents strength, love, and resistance. Most importantly, it represents our beautiful faith. We will tell them hate will not silence us and we will not live in fear. We will tell them we will hold our governments accountable. We will tell Prime Minister Justin Trudeau his words are not enough. We will tell him your life mattered, especially to us. Say her name, Yumna Azel. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a woman who inspired you, Yumna, said change takes courage. We hope that all Canadians and people of the world will have the courage to choose love and not hate. With love, Miriam and Huda.
Wow. Thank you. That was lovely. Are there any other announcements tonight? Any director, trustee conferences, out of district meetings? Trustee Johnstone?
Well, yes, there is. There's the Canadian School Board Association, and it's something to consider. It is having their AGM, and it's in July. And there's an exceptional lineup of speakers. I'm just going to let you know. And how they're working it for this year, because it's a national conference, is that, and it's all based on, how many students you serve in a school board. And that if you buy one registration, everybody in the board can attend, just to let you know. So yes, I mean, that's a fabulous deal. So there's some really great speakers. So I'm wondering, you know, and this not only includes trustees, but it can include the superintendents, administration, the director. It's going to be quite diverse. And one of the speakers was a speaker that spoke at the AGM for OPSPA. And I want to tell you, she was absolutely fabulous. She's talking about diversity and you know, things that school boards can do. And that's just one of the people, but they are having quite a few really great speakers. So it's 500, you know, I looked to check our population, our student population. So for the whole school board, you know, say of you know, staff and everything, it would cost us $500. So I'm wondering if we could have a conversation whether we think that might be, you know, in terms of the number of people who, you know, so you could just pop in, you know, Trustee Morgan or Trustee McComb into, you know, hearing one person, and, you know, so we would all get the same code. But so I kind of think that's a really great deal.
I think it would be money well spent.
Trustee Dawson?
Do you have a date for that, Jan?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, so don't mind me, I'm gonna go to my back channel again. Okay. Because
I also
something
think it sounds like a great money
Yeah.
use.
I'm just gonna see if it comes up right away. No, I get Canadian Tire. That's not what we want. I know, you know, I'm just kind of doing a search because I know that TJ had sent that something out. Let me just go, you know what, it's just easier for me to do it on the Canadian School Board website because that's where I got the information. And there it is, Canadian School Board Association Conference. Okay. Sorry about that. You know, I should have, you know, I had all the other information, but not that. School Board Association.
As Jan looks for it, does anybody have
Yeah.
any concerns about spending that money for all of us to participate in some portion of it? Is there any obstacle for that?
I got the dates.
Okay.
July 7th to the 9th.
So we could send out the agenda and the registration, and unless we hear differently from Superintendent Cummings that we are unable to afford such a venture, we would go ahead with that.
And I can send it to Bev, you know, the registration, so then she can share how that code works.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well, no, I just I thought about it.
Okay. So we'll go ahead with that, and I hope people will participate and take advantage of whatever part you're able to do. The calendar of events has been provided for you. And I guess the most important part of the calendar event is I hope each person on this call is able to enjoy some restful time this summer, and that you all stay very safe, healthy, and we'll look forward to meeting again in September. Director Wilder, I see you've popped onto the screen. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, just, well, yes, I guess I just want to thank all of the trustees so much for a wonderful, majority of the senior team in our positions. it's been brand new for us all, and your support has been really instrumental and very, very much appreciated. So on behalf of our team to the trustees, thank you very much for your support. It's been a great year, and we look forward to what next year brings. It's got to be different, and we've learned a lot this year. I'm not going to say it's going to be better, because it's really, despite all we've gone through, it's been a great year. But we're looking forward to it, and thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Trustee Dawson.
In the words of Stephen Covey, I'd just like to say, take time to sharpen your saw. If you've read his book, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Thank you. So with that, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder that Blue Water District School Board adjourn at 9:17 p.m. Could I have a mover, please? I see Trustee Atkinson and Trustee Dawson, all in favor. And that is carried. Stay well, everyone.
Good
See
night,
you in
everyone.
September.
Stay safe. Bye, everyone.
Have a
Take
good
care.
summer.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Good summer.
Good night.
Yeah, everyone.
Thank you.
See you in September.
You need to sing that. Good night.
Night.